Alright everyone, here we are with ticker symbol DPW Holdings Inc. And before we jump into this chart, I want to say welcome to all my first time viewers and investors. Welcome to my channel, Invest for Tomorrow. To all my subscribers, welcome back, and let's jump into this chart. So here we are with DPW Holdings Inc. It's lost most of its gains here as we see it. I mean, this was a bullish run. Bears appeared. It fell below the 50-day moving average. It looks like the bulls appeared here and they were working their way back up, but then the bears appeared and started to bring this back down. And I'm going to remove these circles here so nobody gets confused, but it slightly went up and then it went back down, and we're kind of hanging out in this area at 610, and we're below the 50-day moving average again. So I was looking at this chart and I want you guys, excuse me for that, but I want you guys to go ahead and pay close attention to this. And this is what I'm noticing. About 50% of the gains were lost here. And if we draw a line here, I don't want you guys to get confused with all this, but I want to illustrate it real quick, and I want you guys to pay close attention to this. So 50% here was lost in the downward trend, right? The downward trend, 50%. And when this brought itself back up, we were at almost about 3/4 of where, this went up to, right? So now we got like 3/4 back. So we got about, a 25% gain here of about, this whole entire situation. This is theoretically speaking, not exactly, right? I don't want you guys to go ahead and say, oh, he said this was 25%. No, I'm just trying to break this chart up a little bit. I'm trying to illustrate this. So it was, approximately, 3/4 of the total amount. And then it slightly dipped back down, and it's hanging out in this area now at 610. And so I can remove all these lines. At this point now, we're almost at about, I'd say 2/3, approximately, or maybe a little bit above 50%, not that much, but I'll just call it 2/3 of the total amount of the run and towards the recovery of getting back up here to these highs. So right now it's holding itself up pretty well, and the lowest point that it reached was 526, and the highest point before the fall was 944. And this is the highest point reached in the whole entire run, 1095. But I like using this point here because there wasn't that much volatility, and it's kind of leveled off at the peak before the fall. So 944 is our peak. The lowest point is down here at 525, 526, give or take, right? So I want every single investor to be aware of that we're sitting right now at 2/3 of the gains. The bulls need to reappear and stop this. If not, this is going to go back down. It's probably going to get back to the 50% range, or maybe even down to, I'd say, 2/5, right? 2/5 of the way. And then now we're probably going to be down around this area and pulling further away from the 50-day moving average and hanging out around here, breaking through that 526.25 mark and seeing newer lows. So I want every single investor to be aware of what could happen. Now, on the other side of things, obviously this resistance level is super important here for the bulls to break through. This is the first resistance level and the highest point before the fall, which is 711. That needs to be broken through by the bulls after the 50-day moving average. Use that as support to reach newer highs. So I want every single investor to write that down right now. That's probably the most important point here that we're looking at. So every single investor needs to keep that in mind. Now let's go ahead and see here what is going on with the chart. Excuse me for that. And let's go ahead and see, based off of the day and how it reacted, what is going on and what we want to pay close attention to here for the next trading day. So let's go ahead and see this here. So back to the 711, right, mark. That's probably one of the most important levels for this chart and for the bulls. Actually, that is the most important level right now. And there is no other resistance. This was just falling throughout the rest of the day. You can see the volume was not that high, but Everything about it was dominating by the bears. And one thing I do like about seeing this when it's pretty quiet and like it's just leveling off like that is that there is a chance for the bulls to reappear, because there's some exhaustion here from the bears. Because if not, it would have been steep. It would have been something like this. But it's kind of quieted down. So I want every single investor to pay close attention to this, and these point of references are still important. But if this breaks through this support, which we're going to look at right now, it's 605. This could be on its way to newer lows. If it breaks through that, you have the 526 mark to pay close attention to, which is the lowest point in this bearish run. And if that gets broken through, this could be on its way to newer lows, pulling further away from the 50-day moving average, which is 677. I want every single investor to write that down. 677, as long as we're below it, we're in bearish territory. The moment we're above it, we're in bullish territory. So 605 is your first support. And then if that gets broken through, your next point of reference is 526. And if 526 gets broken through, this will start to see newer lows, newer support levels. And even if the bulls try to reappear, it's going to be much harder to bring themselves up, break through the 50-day moving average, and break through this resistance. So the most important resistance here is 710, 711, give or take. And I highly suggest to every single investor to be aware that if this breaks through the 50-day moving average, watch closely how the stock is reacting, because if it starts to tug of war and it pulls itself back down and it doesn't reach this resistance, the bulls are losing control and the bears are gaining it again. So you have to watch this closely. Resistance needs to be broken through. Before breaking through it, obviously the 50-day moving average needs to be broken through, and then comes resistance. But this resistance is super important to be broken through, to pull away from the 50-day moving average, turn that into a support, and reach newer highs. So I want to emphasize that. I want every single investor to be aware of that. But right now, this is hanging out in that 50 to 60% range of the location from down here to up here. And either the bears are going to reappear and they're going to continue to tear this down, and we need to watch these support levels closely, or the bulls need to come in hefty and strong, break through the 50-day moving average, break through resistance, turn it into a support so they can pull away from it to reach newer highs and new resistance levels. But we're sitting in an area where if this breaks through 526, we're definitely going to be below the 50% range, and this will be hitting newer lows, newer support levels, and pulling further away from the 50-day moving average. So we need to pay close attention to these supports on the lower end of things, and on the upper end of things, this resistance is very important for the bulls to break through at 710. As always, if you found this video helpful and informative, please do so and subscribe. Don't forget to click on the bell to turn on all notifications and not miss a single video that I post. Share this with your friends and community, and don't forget to hit the like button to let me know you watched this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let's make some money.